Welcome back. We're live from the Republican National Convention in St. Paul, Minnesota, where another gathering attracted media attention. Republican Congressman Ron Paul, considered something of an outsider by the mainstream of the party, held a parallel convention which drew a crowd estimated between 10 and 15,000 people. When I met with him today, I started off by asking him about that event.
We started a little bit of a rally on Sunday. We had training sessions, and then on Monday we had more of that. But yesterday we had a big rally starting at noontime and went to about 10 o'clock at night. We had many speakers, and we talked about the Constitution and limited government, the direction of the country, and where we think the Republicans have come up short. So it was a message to sort of celebrate what we had done in the campaign for the presidency, and to reward our supporters, but also to pick up on the momentum and say we're here, we're going to be around, and we want to see some changes because we truly believe what Republicans profess to believe in limited government, personal liberty, and strong national defense.
Any worries about fragmenting the Republican vote by creating some sort of parallel event, especially when the Republican Party is up against a strong candidate like Barack Obama?
I don't think fragmented means anything. It means that we're appealing to some people that haven't been in the party. I mean, most of our people are less than 25 years of age. They're college kids and high school kids, and they're very excited about this message. So I would say it's a good time for the Republicans to look at why we're getting attention, and maybe they could build their party because actually the party is getting smaller.
Well, Congressman, we had an email that came in from Chicago from a viewer, and if I could put this to you, it says, it's from Mehmet in Chicago. It says, what do you think Republicans must do to improve America's image around the world? Do you even think a Republican can do it?
They're going to be tough because they have a bad reputation, and this administration, I don't think, did a very good job. But I don't expect the Democrats to do much better. I mean, George Bush ran on a program in the year 2000 saying that we had a bad reputation, didn't like the idea of nation building and policing the world, and criticized Clinton for his mischief. So one party over the other, they don't seem to be much better. But we do need to improve our image, and of course that's what we address. And foreign policy is of top priority as far as we're concerned. And that is that we should mind our own business and not tell other people how to run their lives and run their countries, but be friends with all countries and trade with them and have good relationship with countries, and therefore we wouldn't get involved in so many of the disputes around the world.
Well, then how do you extract yourself from the current situation such as Iraq, such as Afghanistan, and obviously America's interests overseas?
See, the last sentence is what I would challenge American interests. I think our interests are best served by not being there. I think we do ourselves a disservice by having troops in Iraq and Afghanistan because it doesn't really protect oil. Oil prices go up when we're over there, and it raises question. Then we antagonize the radicals over there and say, hey, why did somebody invade our country and put troops on our holy land? And that precipitates hatred toward us. So I would say it's in our best interest and in the flow of oil for us to just be out of there, but to work with them and talk with them, be customers and trade and all of these things, but not to think that we own them. And I think that's where the antagonism comes. And then also even the Europeans who are less aggressive at this moment become annoyed with us. And they don't say, Ray, let's go into Iran. And they didn't love Iraq and these sort of things. So it undermines our allegiance of our allies. At the same time, we make more enemies in the Arab world. And I think that's very detrimental to us.
Another email we had, sir, this came in from Texas here in the U.S. Okay. And this one actually says, Ron Paul supports withdrawing from the UN. Given our current standing in the world, how does he think that would affect us? Now, of course, the UN also, a lot of people believe the UN is controlled by the U.S. too, so would it make a difference?
I mean, basically it is. We pay the most money, and you know, the UN is an excuse for our foreign policy. We're supposed to never go to war unless we have a declaration of war. And Congress wouldn't do it, but it did say in the resolution of transferring the power to the president to make the decision, it said, we give you the power to do whatever you want, start the war if you need be, to enforce UN resolutions. So we were hiding behind the skirts of the United Nations. Just think, one of the first acts of the United Nations was to get us involved in Korea, and we're still in Korea. So I know the UN has, the notion of the UN is noble, and it's for world peace, but people get control of it, and I think the powerful special interests benefit from it, and I don't think it helps us one bit around the world. I don't think the world's safer because of the UN.
Of course, sir, it sounds like you're fairly disenchanted with the Republican Party, and I wonder, why not break away completely for it, especially as they've given you quite a hard time at this convention in hampering your staff credentials and so on?
Well, a lot of people suggest that, but I've been elected 10 times as a Republican, and I take these positions. I believe they're hardcore Republican positions. And I just think the Republican Party has become more like the Democrats. So I don't see too many advantages for that. Besides, in the United States, being in a third party is very difficult. Other countries are more democratic than ours because if you come to the conclusion Republicans and Democrats are alike, there's no contest because our laws are so biased against competition to get on the ballots and get in debates and get the attention on the media. It's just not there. So we don't think it's very fair or practical to get involved in third-party politics, although I've done that in the past, too.
So you're thinking more of fighting it from the inside, basically?
Yeah, I think so. And we have a lot of our people now working hard to learn the rules and the ropes and get involved in the Republican Party and try to develop a transition away from what they're doing today.
Well, you do have a very loyal core following, and I wonder if you see any particular focus, any particular issue that your supporters are very much inclined towards. What policies, or what particular policy do you think really drives them?
But the driving force is liberty over tyranny, big government versus the importance of the individual. That's a general statement. The most important issue, I think it alerts the young people to come to us, is foreign policy. You know, our threats overseas and the men and women dying and getting wounded, that excites them and interests them. But there's another issue that has come up that I've worked on for 30 years and didn't think anybody would pay attention, but all of a sudden it gets the loudest applause at our convention and has to do with monetary policy. The whole idea that we have a Federal Reserve that secretly decides with a monopoly power to decide interest rates and the supply of money, and yet our Constitution said, oh, you should only have commodity money, gold and silver is money, and restrain the government spending because governments can spend, oh, we need money, we'll print it. That is a very dangerous economic theory.
Interesting you raised that because we had an email that came in from West Virginia, and Michael wrote in saying, why do you oppose the Federal Reserve or central bank system? What do you propose instead?
Well, free market banking. You know, just like there are free markets, there has been free markets in banking. There's no authority in our Constitution for a central bank. They tried to do it with our first national bank and our second national bank in the early years, and they were rejected by Jefferson and Jackson. So we went a lot of years without a Federal Reserve system. And what you want to do is just the government's responsibility is to make sure there's no dishonesty, prevent fraud. So if you make a coin, you have to be honest in the weights and measures of that coin. But as far as banking is concerned, they should be held in check by not counterfeiting the money and also not, controlling it like the Federal Reserve does.
I have to ask you, sir, what you make of John McCain's pick of Sarah Palin as a vice president. She's considered something of a reformer, which, again, you're along that lines, maybe even maverick sometimes. Does she share any common interest with you?
I think so. I don't know her, but everything I've heard sounds pretty interesting. And somebody did give me a quote where several months ago she was interviewed and said something favorably about me. So I think that John McCain has made a wise pick. I just hope that she will have influence, but I don't know whether she would be sympathetic with what we just talked about on foreign policy, sort of come back a little bit rather than sending out more troops and spending more money overseas. Some fiscal conservatives are good when it comes to welfare at home, but not so good when it's welfare abroad and say, we have this obligation to police the world. I don't know where she is on that.
Of course, a lot of people were hoping in the Republican side to attract some of Hillary Clinton's disenchanted supporters, or disenchanted with Barack Obama at least. After the Democratic National Convention, he managed to get a bit of a boost, win some of them back. But have you managed to attract any of those Clinton supporters who are looking for an alternative?
Have I?
Yeah, have you seen any evidence of them?
Probably less so of those supporters as I do get from Obama. Once they know that Obama is probably not as sincere in his promises about coming back militarily and worrying about personal liberties, and they see that it's the same old thing again, that we get a lot in our group because they're young people. But the one characteristic of our supporters is they're very diverse. So we have a lot of young people, elderly people, Democrats, Green Party people, Republicans, and the whole works, because we key in on the important issue that brings people together, and that is personal liberty. Mind your own business overseas and mind your own business at home. Let people have their own life, their own lifestyles, their own religion. At the same time, we want them to make as much money as they can and keep it and spend it the way they want. And if they want to gamble, that's their business. If they want to go broke, don't ever come to the government crying for a bailout.
That was Republican Congressman Ron Paul, who's been challenging the mainstream of his party with his platform and key issues. Thanks for being with us tomorrow. Tune in for Al Jazeera's special live coverage of the final night of the Republican National Convention at 00 GMT. That's all from me and the team. See you next time.
Michael Steele.